gives off straight away. King's a three-pointer. Off the left side of the rim. Offensive board, Kyle. Left block. He throws it down. The right-handed flush for William Kyle. It's a 6-point game. 37-31 Kansas. 2.5 gone in the second half.
A momentum mover for Syracuse, or at least it should have been. Instead, the Jayhawks' three-point attack came back fighting.
White bounce pass to the right wing, where it's handled by Council. He rolls off the screen to the left elbow, kicks it out, gets it back. Three-pointer Council. Money. Nothing but net. Melvin Council. It's 49-40 Kansas. 11:20 left in the game.
That was Kansas's fifth three-pointer of the game. SU now in desperate need of a response. Who do you turn to? A captain.
Now on the right wing, George has it. Back outside, Starling, deep three. Good! J.J. Starling connects from downtown. This is a 5-point game and a timeout called by Bill Self in Kansas.
That made it a 2-possession ball game with 7.5 to play. And if you thought that three-pointer was big, just you wait.
And back outside from Soiree. Betsy, tough three. Good! Tyler Betsy with his third triple of the game. It's a 1-possession ball game in Vegas. Kansas leads 52-50, 6 minutes left.
Back-to-back days with big-time threes for Tyler Betsy. The Cincinnati transfer finished with 4 makes from deep. A possible thriller down the stretch with that 1-possession game, but that did not last.
White breaks free. Ahead to Badunga. There's 28 seconds left. The flush from Cole Rosario. And the Jayhawks fans are loving it. 71-60 with 27 seconds left.
The Orange stuck with it, but in the end, the Jayhawks flew away with the win.
For the second straight day, Syracuse puts up a good fight, but falls short. The Orange go to 0-2 here in the Players Era Festival with a 71-60 loss to the Jayhawks.
An almost wire-to-wire victory for Kansas as the Orange fall just short to a marquee opponent for the second straight game. Again, Syracuse falling to Kansas 71-60, punctuated by the dunk you just heard there. The Orange put up valiant efforts in both games, and yesterday we certainly had a WAER player of the game go the Orange's way. But today, for our WAER player of the day, I just can't ignore Flory Badunga. He was tremendous today. Although he only put up 13 points, 11 of those came early to spark the Kansas offense, and then down the stretch, the defense and rebounding was spectacular. 2 blocks for Badunga, but what really stands out, 14 rebounds, including 4 on the offensive glass, and he put up a 3-for-3 performance from the stripe as Kansas ended up going 18 of 20 from the line, a far cry of what we've been seeing from the Orange over the last few days. Syracuse falling to Kansas. Again, another dramatic finish for the Orange, and we couldn't have really expected that coming into the tournament, especially without SU's leading scorer. Now we await the third game of the tournament. It could either be tomorrow or it could be on Thursday. We really don't know yet, and that all depends on the math of the tournament. Not everybody plays everybody. It's not some kind of round robin where teams filter into where they should be justly. This is a committee looking at point differentials, who won what game against what team, and then ranking them the way they see fit in order for 2 teams to go up in the championship round, 3rd and 4th place game, etc., as it goes down the list. Syracuse at 0-2 does still have a chance to play on Thursday. Point differential-wise, the Orange are in a good spot. They're only minus 15, while other teams have significantly worse point differentials that could slot them into a spot come Thursday afternoon. So we'll just have to wait and see. Our next broadcast for football, though, we do know the time for that. It is next week, Saturday, November 29th. Syracuse against Boston College. That game is at 3. Countdown to kickoff begins at 2:30 for that on WAER. A couple thank yous to hand out. Ben Chadwick, our producer. Josh Richardson, our engineer, hitting all the right buttons. Griffin Bloomstein on radio replay, and the entire WAER sports desk for continuing to put in hard work over what is a Thanksgiving break for most of the people on our group here at WAER, but we continue to push through, and thank you to everybody who makes that work. Alrighty, it's time for our double overtime, and there's plenty to talk about, and for that, we now welcome on one of the broadcasters for the game. It's Luke Burgess. Luke, this game was a bit of a roller coaster throughout, but in the end did not go the Orange's way.
Yeah, Hudson. I mean, we talked about it, Sam and I, at the end of the broadcast, and I'm sure you and I and Sam and maybe even Adam Gotkin, another member of our WAER Sports Talk staff, will talk about it over the next hour and a half. But Syracuse, just a putrid shooting day, 32% from the field. That's not going to fly against a team like Kansas that a couple of days ago, really just over 24 hours ago, was ranked number 24 in the nation. Yeah, they're missing their best player, but I mean, this is a good team, and you have to hit shots. That is the only way to win the ball game, especially when you're not a good free throw shooting team.
Certainly do. Kansas hit those shots today. Syracuse really struggled. Kansas 44% from the field. Not great, but pretty solid. Syracuse just 31% from the field. We'll break down that. Plus, we'll have Sam Reese, who was just at the Adrian Autry press conference, along with Adam Gotkin, which should be happening right around now in the bowels of the MGM Grand Garden Arena. And we'll also have you on the show. Call in 315-443-2011 to get your voice heard. Again, that is 315-443-2011. We'll have plenty to talk about on the double overtime. I know you got thoughts, so call in. We have you up until 7:30 Eastern time.
It's nice
Luke,
math from
Luke,
you right there.
that's 4:30 our time. I have to
That's
whip
correct.
out the quick math. But we don't get going unless we start now. It's the double overtime, and it starts right now.
The game may be over, but our coverage on WAER is not. Here on the double overtime, we'll be breaking down all the highs.
Carlos kicks out. Freeman contested three. It doesn't matter. It swirls home. The horn sounds, and Donnie Freeman sends this team into the locker room jumping for joy.
Starling from the right wing gets down the lane. His righty layup goes, and the Orange lead.
He's calling all the way for it. Wants it on Suarez. Spins back to his right. Baby hook. Up, and it goes. And one. Eddie Lampkin rocks the baby around the three-point line.
And the lows.
100 matchups between Georgetown and Syracuse. A long 95-year history. The rivalry is alive and well, and today the victors is Georgetown.
Low slices through the defense. Behind the back pass. Corhen sticks it up and in. A little razzle-dazzle from Jalen Lowe to Cam Corhen. And that one may be the dagger.
And thus ends the second season under Adrian Autry. And it finishes in the second round of the ACC tournament in 2025.
Delivering our hottest takes along the way.
But it just makes you wonder what is going on in practice, because each time that Adrian Autry takes the podium, it's a lot of, we're working on it.
We're getting better.
We're working on it. We're getting better. We're getting better. Well, sure, maybe in theory they're getting better.
But
this is a fan base that needs you to be good now.
Say this about Syracuse basketball is crazy, because the brand of Syracuse basketball that I grew up knowing is so far distant from where this team is at now. But I mean, we could be talking about Syracuse at the bottom of the ACC.
I don't think this team makes the ACC tournament at this rate.
Get your voice heard by calling in at 315-443-2011 or check out our YouTube at WAER Sports Talk. It's the double overtime, and it starts right now.
Hello and welcome in to the double overtime live high above courtside at the MGM Grand Garden Arena. Hudson Ridley here with Luke Burgess as we're breaking down a 71-60 loss for Syracuse men's basketball. You can call in 315-443-2011 if you want to get your voice heard on the air, and we already have a caller on the line. It's Dave from Liverpool. Dave, what you got?
Yeah, I'd like to talk about shooting and rebound. It's never on a team almost missed 10 shots. Okay, 3 of the SU players, 2 of them missed 10 shots, the other one missed 9 shots. This has been going on for a long time. Like last year, J.J. Starling, his shooting percentage, he always took I think he always got more shots than points, or he doesn't really shoot the ball well. Plus, Cayenne Anthony, he missed 10 shots. So 3 guys missed, between them, they missed 29 shots. Think about that. And then also the rebounding and the foul shooting, if they don't do something about the rebounding and foul shooting.
Dave, I think you make a really good point on each aspect of that. From the shooting perspective, that kind of affected the rebounding because if you keep missing shots, defensive rebounds are easy to get for Kansas. Today, there were a lot of ill-advised shots on offense. I said this at halftime, Luke, and I will stand on this. The J.J. Starling floater is my least favorite shot imaginable.
That is not my least favorite shot because I will say he makes that shot a decent amount. It's
rarely.
not a high percentage shot. The shot I hate the most is whatever we were seeing, Cayenne Anthony, Sadiq White, trying to get these like low percentage, low post hook shots or floaters or spin around jumpers. They are just not going to go. And Donnie Freeman took a bunch of them in the first few games of the season as well. He just takes it so much that he makes them eventually.
Yeah, Donnie Freeman can do that.
Right,
That's
he has the size to do it. These other guys, Cayenne Anthony does not have the size to do it. And Anthony, I mean, I'm going to be honest today. If you wanted an argument about whether J.J. Starling or Cayenne Anthony should be starting once ACC play rolls around, I mean, this was a pretty bad game for Cayenne Anthony.
It was a bad game for J.J. Starling,
no question.
too.
Bad game for both of them. Absolutely, but Starling provides some three-point buckets. He missed a lot of shots in tight. Missed 2 free throws as well. But, I mean, Anthony doesn't provide the same type of defensive stability that J.J. Starling does. So if you're having a conversation about who to start, which a week ago we were, then I think the answer should be pretty clear for you from what happened in this game today. Cayenne Anthony, 2 of 12 shooting the basketball. That is really bad.
I mean, based on today's performance, I don't want any of them to start, but obviously there has to be somebody starting. And, I mean, Cayenne Anthony was pretty good yesterday. J.J. Starling was pretty good yesterday, and the Orange kept it close. But when you don't have – this is a game where Donnie Freeman would have made an actual difference.
No question.
Yesterday, I don't think that actually changes anything because the offense was in such a good rhythm and playing well. They were executing half-court offense well. It was not hero ball. When you get into a hero ball game, it goes really poorly. I hear Dave from Liverpool is back. Dave, what you got?
Oh, I'm from Camillus.
Oh, Dave from Camillus. Sorry, Dave. That's on me.
Okay. I just want to say that Syracuse competed, and there's no moral victories, but they hung around. They tried to beat. I mean, they almost beat Houston if it wasn't for the foul shots. So I'm happy with this team. I mean, yes, disappointing the losses, but hopefully they can snag at least one of these either Wednesday or Thursday, one of the games. Hopefully they can beat the team tomorrow or Thursday, whoever they play, and then go back and regroup and get ready for Tennessee. So hopefully they'll come out of this 1-2 at least. I mean, that's a positive. So,
Dave, I got to ask you, if they lose this third game, no matter who it ends up being against, we won't know until late tonight after all the games have wrapped up. If they lose that third game and finish 0-3, does your opinion about how this game played out change?
What do you mean by that? I mean,
do you not see this? You said you're not that disappointed with the way that today went, but with losing in overtime yesterday, taking Houston all the way to the wire, and then losing today, yeah, it's an 11-point game, but pretty convincingly, to be honest with you. Kansas really dominated this game from start to finish. There were a couple of moments where Syracuse maybe looked like they had a little bit of life, but if they go out and lose a third game, say by 7 points, are you feeling a little bit more negative about the tournament as a whole?
A little bit, yeah. A little bit.
Yeah, I feel like I have to agree with you there, Dave. I feel like I have to. If they go 0-3 in this tournament, Dave, I don't know. Thank you very much for calling in. If you want to call in just like Dave did, 315-443-2011. That is the number to call as we break down this loss from Syracuse, 71-60. Houston and Tennessee about to tip off on the court in just moments. A school that Syracuse just saw and one they will see in 2 games, so interesting thing to note for Syracuse fans. But back to this Kansas game. The first Dave, I think, brought up a great point, not just about the shooting, but also the rebounding. this is something that has frustrated me for quite some time is the rebounding. And William Kyle, he's a good rebounder, but he has his issues. And we'll talk about that in just a second. But, hey, we have Stan from Solvay on the line. Stan, what you got?
Hey there. All right, guys. Well, I'm just going to keep it simple. Seriously, the most important thing when you play basketball, you can talk about rebounding and everything, defense and all this and that. If you can't shoot the basketball, you're not going to win games. And they can't shoot the basketball. They still can't. And they can't shoot foul shots. And the foul shots, some of these guys, I don't even think they'll ever get better. It's bad because they could be a really good team because they've got this inner something, this intensity and stuff, but they just cannot shoot the basketball. And if they just shot the basketball a little bit better today, they probably could have won this game too. So that's all.
Dave, Dave, I completely agree. Or Stan, rather. Sorry, I apologize. We just had two Daves on. Stan, I completely agree with you. I think like this game today, I said it on the end of the broadcast when Sam and I were on the call, but I just don't think there's any other way to slice this one up than Syracuse just simply has to make more shots. And there are instances, I think back to a couple
exactly it. That's exactly it.
I think back to some of the Tyler Betsy three-point attempts in the first half, and he finished 40%, which you look at that and you think, oh, well, pretty respectable. But he was 1 for 7 in the first half shooting the three, and three of those were wide open. You can't miss those shots.
Hey, listen, they played with two good teams. I'm not really that disappointed. I'm sad that they lost, but they played Houston real well, and they did. They still didn't shoot that well, and obviously the foul shots. And then they played Kansas. They played two good teams. So going forward, I think there's a lot to look forward to, but they just got to shoot the ball better.
Stan, before you take off, I got one question for you. Syracuse shot 23 attempts from the line today. If I was to give you a basketball, go out in front of a crowd, shoot 23 attempts, how many do you think you would hit? Genuine question. Just genuine question.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I love sports, and I never played it a lot. I definitely know I could make at least probably 10.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
that's a solid
that's
percentage.
A respectable, honest answer.
And you're not getting paid.
I don't play. I could make.
Yeah,
10.
you're not.
It's not
you're not getting paid.
Of a shot.
It's not. It's free. It's free, Stan. It's free.
And it's not that far away. It's not that hard of a shot. It's not that hard.
It's really not. Stan, thank you very much for calling in. Thank you. Yeah, I think he's right, though, Luke. I could probably hit 10 of 23.
Yeah, I play some basketball very poorly recreationally from time to time, and I think I'm probably about 50% free throw shooter.
That's not bad. There are guys on Syracuse men's basketball right now that are lower than that.
You put a crowd in front of me, yeah, I'm probably making less than that. I'm going to be honest, especially if they're cheering for you like William Kyle was. But the thing about William Kyle, you don't expect William Kyle to make free throws. Would it be nice, Hudson, if he made some more? Yes.
It's like Hack-a-Shack.
Right.
You foul William Kyle because he's not going to – he won't hit him.
I mean, that was a conversation – when you're having that conversation preseason about this guy, he's ultra athletic, but his one flaw is guys might intentionally foul him because of how bad he is at shooting free throws, then you know that, like, the expectations are low. But, a guy like J.J. Starling, I understand historically he has struggled shooting the free throw, but – that should not be the case. He's your two guard, and sometimes he's the point guard for this team in certain sets. And it's just not acceptable for any ACC school, let alone one that has aspirations. And if you ask Adrian Autry, and we'll ask Sam Reese when he comes back from that press conference about what you expect, it is not that. You expect more, and you have to get more if this team is going to be competitive into ACC play, because they'll play some middle-of-the-road teams, and there will be instances where there are games that are – those are those games that could go either way.
Yeah.
Actually, I remember you had a great conversation about this last year on the double overtime.
Oh,
talking
yeah.
about the schedule outlook, about those games that could go either way.
Yeah.
Those games will happen again this year.
They will.
And they will be decided by things like that. And you just have to be a little bit better. I will say, some improvement today from Kyan Anthony. 2 for 2. He only went to the line once, but he made both.
This is a complete reversal. He's been good from the floor, good from three, awful from the line. He usually shoots a little under 40% from three. He was 0 for 6 today. He usually shoots just a little over 40% from the line, and he was 2 for 2. So a funny reversal, but if you were to take anything from Anthony today, you would still rather have the reverse. We're talking free throws here on the double overtime. Syracuse fell to Kansas 71-60 in the second game of the Players Era tournament. We've already had a few Daves call in, as well as a Stan, if you want to join them. 315-443 888-2011. That's the number to call in and get your voice heard. The free throw shooting has been bad game by game, and I talked before the game with assistant coach Alan Griffin. I said, is this something that you're working on, or will the shots just drop? And instantly, I don't even think I finished the word drop. Instantly, he said, the shots are going to drop. The free throws will just drop. We have good shooters. Look, I'm looking at these J.J. Starling free throws. I don't know.
How could you not look at
I
them?
don't know how. I mean, there is if you want to go ahead and go on Twitter or X or whatever and look up J.J. Starling free throw, go ahead and watch the motion, unless you're driving. Please don't do that. But if you're not driving, go ahead and watch the motion. It is gross. There is a hitch in that free throw form, and I don't know why. It's like when you get a hitch in your golf swing and you just can't get it out. I think that's going on with him, and that's on the coaches to coach that out of him.
Right, that's exactly what I was going to say, actually, is that it is like eerily similar to if you start hitting your driver bad one day on the golf course, all of a sudden you just start like trying to emulate someone else's swing, and it doesn't go well. And that's the reality. Like, J.J. Starling has this little double hitch in his free throw stroke, but you don't even see that every single time.
No.
If it was consistent, you could at least say, well, at least he's committed to it. But, I mean, when you're changing up your stroke based on how you're feeling at the line, it's just not a recipe for success because, this level of excellence, and don't get me wrong, it is a level of excellence. It is hard to be this good.
Yeah.
But it demands consistency. You have to be consistent across the board with the way that you approach those types of things. That's the only way you're going to shoot at a percentage that's respectable for a conference like this. And, yeah, I mean, like I said, right now, J.J. Starling kind of looks like he's going up there and feeling it out. And that can't happen.
That's true. I think that's very funny, too. You have one bad day with the driver, it switches up. I've never had a good day with the driver, so I guess there's no hitch that's developed there. But for J.J. Starling, the free throw numbers have dropped down, especially from his freshman year at Notre Dame. Things have gotten worse and worse for Starling in the shooting category, and that goes for a lot of spots as well on the floor. I did find it interesting. I want to circle back to the William Kyle part of these free throws as well. William Kyle has had some bad days shooting from the line. Sure, like we mentioned, you're not going to expect William Kyle to have a good day from the line. Today, he hit his first free throw, proceeded to go 1 for 6 on the day. 3 of those, 2 of them at least were air balls. 2 of them, one of them barely grazed the rim and was not an air ball. So virtually 3 airballed free throws. The way he has his motion, it's almost like a shot putter, right? Where you have it on your shoulder, you kind of swing it up and you sling it. I understand sometimes you can change a big man's free throw because it's not working, but I would much rather him at least try to get the ball near the rim first. Like, that's step one. I mean, maybe I'm crazy, but that's step one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know much about coaching free throws. Like I said, I think I'm about a 50% rec player, but, I mean, William Kyle, the best way I can describe it is like, it's like he's trying to shoot. Our engineer Josh Richardson is saying if that, and he might be right, to be honest with you. I'm not a good free throw shooter, but if you get hot, Josh, if I get hot at the right time, I feel like I can make some shots in a row. I think all in all, like William Kyle's free throw shot, it looks like he's trying. It almost looks like he's playing like beer pong or something.
Yeah.
It looks like he's above the rim rather than below it because he's pushing it almost up out of his hand. I don't know. Yeah, it's ugly. It needs to be fixed. I mean, at least it needs to improve.
He shoots to drop it straight in, I think is the thing. It's like if the rim – William Kyle shoots free throws like if the rim went vertically like 7 inches high. So you have to like sneak it over the rim. I don't understand the theory behind that. He's trying to drop every single free throw in, and it just doesn't work, and that's why Syracuse loses some of these games. 71-60, the final score against Kansas today. Luke, when you look at the rebounding aspect of this game, we talked about it a little bit earlier with William Kyle's rebounding. He goes for blocks so often. I'd said this after a win over Drexel 2 weeks ago. He goes for blocks so often that he gets out of position to rebound defensively, and when he's really the Orange's only big-time defensive rebounding threat with Donnie Freeman out, then you're really going to struggle.
Yeah, I mean, no question. Like, there was a couple of instances as well. Like, I'm thinking back to yesterday against Houston where he just jumped over a guy. He had a couple of goaltending calls that maybe shouldn't have been called. I think the The better side of that is that you're going to get some pretty ferocious blocks. And, I love what Kyle can do defensively for you. Like I said, I think in this game, Donnie Freeman would have been helpful. You said that as well. It would have been very nice to have another guy who could bully people down in the paint, because that was kind of how this game hypothetically would have been won. Because Syracuse, Donnie Freeman is not a good three-point shooter.
No.
They wouldn't have been shooting the three any better if he was
getting
out there
better
today.
He's getting better at shooting the three, but still
at the
not
moment,
effectively enough.
there has been improvement, I agree. At the moment, not a good college three-point shooter for
This
the
is
ACC.
true. This is true. There's still room to grow and improve. We have John from Liverpool on the line right now. Hey, John, how's it going?
Yeah, guys. You mentioned the foul shooting, William Kyle's foul shooting problems, but another problem to me is that how he has gotten to this point in his career and absolutely has no other game other than dunking the ball. If this guy had a 10-foot shot, a 5-foot shot, he has enough elevation to get anything off that he wants. I really like watching the guy. He's very energetic and jumps like crazy, but it's not just foul shooting. He has no other offensive game other than dunking the ball, and I don't know how he never got any coaching in high school. I don't know what his high school situation was, but I can't believe that he's at this stage in his career and he can only dunk the ball and he can't make a foul shot at all. It's really kind of a waste of talent. But it is what it is. Hopefully he'll improve.
John, I feel like it's give and take, right, with William Kyle. It almost it makes me think, would you rather have what William Kyle is this year, really athletic rim runner but can't hit a mid-range shot, or would you rather have Eddie Lampkin, slow, fat for a lack of a better term, and really just kind of has a little bit of touch from mid-range and a little bit from three? Which would you rather have?
Yeah, I know. Well, I think I haven't seen enough of William Kyle yet, although I'm leaning towards Lampkin. But, it's...
John, I cannot agree with you there.
I do like watching his game, though. I do like William Kyle. We finally got a guy who can really jump, but his other shortcomings are really a problem.
John, I would say, before we let you go, in a team that plays like this, I would just make this point. A team that plays with energy, and I've got some quotes from Adrian Autry that we're going to talk about here in a second as he's going through his press conference right now. But a team that is so based around playing fast and playing with energy, I think we saw that last year that it didn't work with William Kyle last year. And I think we can unequivocally say that this team is better than last year's team. Even though they're 0-2 in this tournament, I mean, last year they probably would have lost these two games by a combined 40 points, and they lost them by, 11 today, 4 yesterday, a combined 15?
Yeah. Could be worse.
Yeah, he plays with a lot of energy, and I like that. Which kind of seems like this team plays with a lot of energy, and I actually like this William Kyle, and somehow or other I would like to see if he could somehow improve, especially try to make a 10-foot shot once, just to see if you can turn around and put up a 10-footer.
Yeah, I like that. It's like how Shaq once shot a three-pointer, and it didn't go in, but my goodness, he shot it. So, impressive stuff. Thank you very much. That's John from Liverpool who called in. If you want to get your voice heard, just like John, call in, let us know. 315-443-2011. That's the number to call. Syracuse dropping to Kansas 71-60 in the second game of the Players Era Tournament. Luke and I, on the double overtime here, are currently watching Tennessee and Houston play what is one of the more marquee matchups. This is number 3 Houston and number 17 Tennessee. Luke, this is a great basketball game. But before we start to shift focus on maybe who Syracuse could play next, we do have to focus on what Adrian Autry is saying right now. He's at the podium alongside Nathan George and J.J. Starling, and he's given a little bit more of a somber tone today.
Yeah, I mean, based off what he said and what we've seen so far, I'm interested to ask Sam Reese to see how it kind of played out. But yeah, I mean, the first quote that I'm seeing, we're learning a lot of lessons. These 2 games have helped us. We're getting better, but we have a lot of things we need to work on. Hudson, immediately my first reaction is what that sounds like is one of Adrian Autry's press conferences after last season.
Yeah.
And I don't think you want to slip into that. Another one that I read was him talking about how they don't want to focus on makes and misses. They'll focus on the effort. And in some ways, yes, I understand that, but I don't feel like Syracuse gave a bad effort today because to me, effort excludes results, right?
Yeah.
So, in that case, well, they shot the three-pointers and they got open looks, but, like, they missed the looks.
I wonder how long the leash is on this effort thing, because it is true, right? And if you play with effort and hustle, like, the reason they were in that Houston game for so long yesterday is because they just played so hard and so physical against Houston. And, I mean, that is a team that, will take it to you and be physical. And Syracuse matched that. And as a result, some of the shots were falling. But when you get in a game like today and you are kind of out-physicaling Kansas in certain spots, out-hustling Kansas, making them make mistakes. Kansas turned the ball over 17 times. Syracuse turned the ball over 2 times. Like, these things help. But are they just thinking, okay, well, the energy will be there, let's keep that up the whole year, and then the shots will drop? What's the point where you say, okay, our energy's great, this is working, but my goodness, we need to actually start hitting shots, because if you don't hit them, you won't win games.
Yeah, I mean, here's the way I can kind of simplify that. I think, like, Syracuse played better defense than its opponent in both of these games.
Yeah.
But they come out 0-2. So to me, if the defense is receiving the check mark on my list of things required to win a basketball game, the next thing I look to is what did the offense do? And the offense wasn't good. So, I mean, they put up 60 points today against the Kansas team that was missing its best player. And, Darren Peterson's, he's going to play in the NBA. Like, he's a good defender, too.
He will.
He's not just a good offensive player. I mean, right now he's mocked first overall in ESPN's last mock draft. So, I mean, he is a legit player on both sides of the ball, and Syracuse struggled to score against a team that did not have him. So,
if Darren Peterson plays in this game, that would be a significant loss for Syracuse.
Yeah, I mean, that's where your mind goes, but then you think about what happened against Houston yesterday. I don't know. Anything is possible, I guess. But that being said, I just think that what it comes down to is Syracuse has to hit more shots. I'll continue to say it. Like, if you're going to shoot 30 three-pointers, by the way, Kansas only shot 16, then you have to hit more than 7 of them.
Yeah.
If that is going to be your shot selection, you're going to have Tyler Betsy, pulling out those shots. Now, it's still a small sample size, and I hate to use that term because it kind of feels like you are making an excuse in some ways. But I don't know. I don't know what the long-term outlook for Tyler Betsy is. Syracuse is going to play a bunch of nothing-burger teams in December, a bunch of non-conference games at the Dome, most of which they're probably going to win simply because they're more talented. And I don't know how much of that really gives you anything to build off of, but Tennessee is going to do that. The game that comes up in the next 2 days is probably going to do that. So I say after that, you're going to have a pretty good idea. Like, is Tyler Betsy going to be a reliable three-point shooter, or is he a guy who's going to go 1 for 7 in the first half and put you in a hole?
Yeah, I mean, that was a big part of the issue was Tyler Betsy had been given the confidence yesterday to go out there and pull whatever he wanted, and some of the shots that he was taking were incredibly ill-advised, like fadeaway threes, one-legged, off
Well, I mean,
whatever.
the shot he tied the game on wasn't a good shot.
Exactly.
Really.
Well, that is true. The shot he tied the game on was like yesterday against Houston. It's like, what are you doing? But he hit it. I don't know. Again, that's another leash thing. Like, how long is the leash for Tyler Betsy when he makes plays like that? Because, again, yesterday he was great, and he kept Syracuse in that game with the performance he had.
No question.
He had 11 at the half. That was a career high already in the first half, and then he tacked on more threes as the game went on, and he kept Syracuse neck and neck in that game and played solid enough defense and replaced Donnie Freeman, who is hurt now and potentially could continue to be hurt. We've seen this last year with Donnie Freeman. Maybe Tyler Betsy's the fill-in role guy. But then today, you come in with all the confidence in the world with Betsy and how he had performed. Boy, how he had performed, and he went 1 for his first 7. And that one, by the way, was a force at the end of the shot clock on an inbound with half a second left, and he drilled it. So that wasn't like a conscious three. That was I have to pull this thing. Unconscious three-pointers, he was 0 for his first 6.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other thing is, too, is that, a tournament like this that is this stacked with this high talent pool, it just shows you how much the margins really, really, really matter. Because, if Syracuse gets fouled, if William Kyle gets fouled on that last shot, instead of it getting blocked, and that's a margin of inches, and he makes one of those 2 free throws, Syracuse wins the game. than today. If you lose this game, yes, you're disappointed, but you're probably shrugging it off as, all right, well, Syracuse had a great game yesterday, ultra physical, they were tired. You start to let the excuses creep in. But because that game went to overtime and Syracuse lets it slip by, now the expectation today was, well, you played so good yesterday, you have to get at least one win out of that. So the results become so paramount, and what it comes down to is 1 or 2 possessions. I think overall Syracuse has played some pretty solid basketball at times in this tournament, but they're going up against really good teams. And, that's the standard for this program that Jim Boeheim consistently had in Sweet 16s and Elite 8s year after year for such a long time, and they're trying to get back there.
Yeah.
The questions are going to come for Adrian Autry, though, because at the end of the day, it's a game where you have to win.
We're talking the Players Era Tournament right now on WAER. We've got the double overtime taking you all the way up until 7:30. Call in to get your voice heard. 315-443-2011, the number to call to contact us. Luke, there are a number of ways that this tournament can go for Syracuse. In all likelihood, because point differential matters in this tournament and the way it's seeded, we'll break it down in a second why they will play on Wednesday, but in all likelihood, they will play on Wednesday because of that. It's not a given, but only 4 teams play on Thursday, and they are the bottom 4 teams that play. Rutgers got blown out twice.
So
they're already
locked
below the
in,
Orange.
Essentially, I would say. Not officially, but you can almost they're a shoo-in.
Rutgers is essentially locked into that. Syracuse only had a 4-point margin yesterday, which helps. And now it needs losses from other teams that lost yesterday in order for Syracuse to maybe feel a little bit better about itself. Those teams include San Diego State, who lost by more than 20 yesterday, and now play Oregon today. If Oregon blows out San Diego State, Oregon will play on Thursday as well as Rutgers. Alabama is a team that lost but is a good team, and they play UNLV.
Yeah, I think UNLV will probably be one of those teams playing on Thursday as well. They lost yesterday to Maryland. That was a closer game, but, if Alabama plays even half as good as they did yesterday, they're going to blow them out by 20 points.
Yeah, UNLV only lost by 7, but if they lose by 20 or more points, then that point differential also helps Syracuse. The big problem is you got to find another team on this list that will do worse than Syracuse and end up losing. Notre Dame won, so they're 1-1, and Syracuse can't be on top of them. Alabama will likely beat UNLV. So now it comes down to, will Creighton lose and will St. John's lose? If either of those teams lose, Syracuse is in a good spot. And Creighton, by the way, did lose today officially by 18 points. So likely Syracuse is safe from playing on Thanksgiving Day, but it does raise some interesting questions.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think there's a lot that goes into what happened in these last 2 days. There are certainly bits and pieces that make these games seem like they're a little bit better than they are, and I think that there's a lot you could point to as well that makes these games seem pretty bad, especially today. I'll continue to say it, but I think that losing yesterday really put this team in a tough spot today because Houston played them so physical. And then, like I said, the expectation was to come out and get a win.
Yeah.
And they needed to do that today. And unfortunately, when you shoot 32% from the field, that's not going to happen a lot of the time.
Yeah, playing Houston was kind of like a once in a couple years Syracuse performance where everything is firing.
You hope that it's not, though.
I do mean for this current iteration, though, of Syracuse basketball.
No question.
Those of you who are saying, once in a generation, no, I do understand. But within the last few years, you have to realize, this is once in an every once in a while now for Syracuse, where they play a game like that Houston game where they just do so well. And a game like that is physically exhausting, the way that Syracuse played. The 2 top defenses in the nation diving on the floor, pushing each other over, constant fouls. There was over 40 fouls.
Game.
It was one of the more physical games I'd ever seen. And you have less than 24 hours to turn around and play a Kansas team who had a relatively, not an easy game against Notre Dame, but got by pretty smoothly. And so Syracuse already on the back foot kind of took it in the mouth in that regard. We'll have plenty more to talk about on the double overtime as we roll on. We'll be joined by Sam Reese, who was just at the Adrian Autry press conference. He'll let you know everything the Orange head man said. Plus, we'll have appearances from a few more people as well. If you want to call in, 315-443-2011. Maybe if you call in now, we'll come back with you after this short break. We'll be back on the Double Overtime here in just a moment.
There is a one-stop listen for everything Syracuse athletics.
Syracuse men's lacrosse had arguably maybe Gary Gates' best weekend ever as head coach.
The Ostrom Avenue podcast provides unique opinions plus exciting interviews from industry experts.
The voice of Syracuse men's lacrosse and Syracuse women's basketball as well. Tim Leonard, Javon Edmonds of Syracuse.com.
Check out weekly episodes and listen at WAER.org or wherever you get your podcasts.
Actor Richard Gere has been famous for decades for roles in movies like American Gigolo and Pretty Woman. He's also a devoted follower of Buddhism, and in a new documentary, he puts someone else in front of the camera, the Dalai Lama.
This camera.
Yes, here.
Okay.
Richard Gere on how he hopes the film will change lives on the next morning edition from NPR News.
Weekdays from 5 to 9 on 88.3 WAER.
If in your travels through the Arctic Circle, you happen to come across a polar bear, you can do one of two things. You can run, or you can hide. But on the next Snap Judgment, Dennis believes he has a third option. Snap proudly presents Not So Tiny Dancer. Do not miss it.
Sunday morning at 10 on 88.3 FM WAER, your local NPR station from the Newhouse School at Syracuse University.
Thanks for listening. We hope you're enjoying this WAER sports broadcast. Our sports staff goes where the teams go, home and away, and prepare for days before each game broadcast. Our talk show and podcast hosts analyze games, pore over stats, and keep up on sports trends. These and many behind-the-scenes opportunities are made possible by listener donations. So if you're a fan or an alum, donate to keep our sports legacy strong at WAER.org and click Donate.
NewsHour from the BBC.
Understand what's happening.
With news.
What's going on?
Heat waves, cyclones, storms, floods.
Increasingly unpredictable weather events.
Interviews.
2024 is the hottest year on record.
This is an uncharted situation.
And analysis of the day's global events.
In the Middle East, it's very difficult to be shocked nowadays.
That's NewsHour from the BBC.
Weekdays after morning edition at 9 on WAER, your local NPR station.
George, lefty dribble, slices inside, passes out to White. In the corner, it's Kings. He drills a three. Nate Kings opens the scoring with a corner three. That was J.J. Starling yesterday. Yeah, and unfortunately for the Orange, that was one of just 7 threes that they made the entirety of the game. Funny, Syracuse has opened with a corner three make on both of their first possessions in each of these 2 games in day 1 and 2 of the Players Era Tournament. Or the Players Era Festival, whatever you want to call it. It's got a bunch of different names, apparently. Yeah. We're rolling on the double overtime for another 50 minutes. You can still call in and get your voice heard. 315-443-2011. We've got the play-by-play crew. Myself, Luke Burgess, Sam Reese to my right now joining us, and Hudson Ridley, who is our host today, and walking you through the double overtime all the way up until 7:30 Eastern time. Sam, you are now alongside us. You were at the press conference, as you've told us, not only for Adrian Autry, but also for Bill Self. So
yes,
maybe some interesting things to take from the 22nd year head coach, of course, a longtime veteran. But we'll start with Autry. We read some of the quotes that you sent out on our X account, but your biggest takeaway from the press conference, that's where I want to start.
Sure. My biggest takeaway, I would say, is that Autry made it clear that he's not worried about the offense, even after this performance. And it's more, he stressed, it's a lot more about the energy, which I found very interesting. So,
I didn't think the energy was bad.
Me neither.
That's what we both
neither.
said that.
Yeah, so he said it's truly about us and our energy and our effort. So he stressed energy and effort. That's what they're at the point where that needs to be the main focus. He's not concerned about the struggles the offense had today. That was my big takeaway, where he said straight up, for me, it's not about the offense when asked directly, about the struggles. Again, they played terribly offensively, right? So that was my biggest takeaway, where He clearly is not concerned about that, but he said similar things about free throws, and that continues to be a problem. So I don't know, right?
Yeah, did anyone ask him about what type of energy he wants to see, like what that energy would actually create? Because, I mean, you can be as energetic as you want. You can sprint up and down the floor, but if you don't put the ball in the basket, you're not winning the game.
Yeah, there was a question asked about what is that level 5 energy that he alludes to constantly, and he basically gave a nothing burger, if I'm being honest.
Well, I mean, it's
like, what can you say?
It's a hard question because it's not concrete.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like, so that's why to me it's like, to Luke's point, that's an interesting thing to bring up, because he basically mentioned, it's all about the buy-in from everyone, which, like, obviously, right? Like, there wasn't much more than that.
I do think this is an interesting point, though, for future deflection. If Adrian Autry continues to lean on, hey, this is energy,
right.
there's no number on that. He can just say level 5 energy, but there's no number. That is qualitative. Yeah. Now, the shots, that is quantitative. Maybe someone asks him, hey, what threshold? He says, okay, our shooting's got to be better. Yeah. If he gets asked what threshold, right, and he says, okay, we need to start shooting 75% from the line, and they still shoot 50%, that's hampering on him. Hey, we need to start shooting 35% from 3, and they continue to miss 1 million threes a game. That's on him. But if it's just put on the energy, then there really is there's a lot of wiggle room there.
No question.
That's a good escape act from him.
It is. It might be pretty smart from Adrian Autry. He did say they're learning, a lot of lessons. So he talked about how these last 2 games he thinks have helped them. In the long run, he said, obviously, and he did admit, he said we have to be better and there are things to work on, but he stressed that playing in this competition is going to help the team, which I totally agree with.
No question.
Playing these type of opponents and this type of schedule, right, where it's possibly 3 games in 3 days, like that's something not normal compared to the rest of your schedule throughout the traditional regular season slate, right?
Yeah.
So he did admit that and mention that, despite these 2 losses, this is going to help them. There's things they have to improve on, absolutely. But yeah, that's basically the gist of what he got across today at the podium.
Nate George was also there today. Did he have much to say?
Nope. He was barely asked anything, to be fair. For anyone who was at yesterday's, I forget, I jumble the days together, but whoever I was with at yesterday's press conference, right? Like all the questions were being asked to Autry, so there wasn't much directed to either J.J. Starling or Nate George. I'm trying to retrace my memory. Nothing stood out at all. I think he maybe answered one question, and it was not much. He was kind of just sitting there, and there wasn't much asked of him.
J.J. Starling, though, did have a comment on his defense.
Yes. That stood out. Basically, a question asked about J.J. Starling about how he missed a few games, right, with the injury, and is getting back into the groove, and how he was feeling. And he said, he's back, but it is a process kind of getting back into a rhythm, right? Because he did miss some time early, but he's feeling good from a physical perspective, just in the sense of getting back into a rhythm and playing these games with tight turnarounds. He said, I pride myself as an offensive player for sure, but those shots will fall. He's confident in that. But he made it clear that he's really happy with the way he's upped his game on the defensive end of the floor, which I think is true.
I completely agree.
That's something I've noticed, where he's getting in there more, making it more of a problem for whoever he's guarding to get past him. So I think, I wouldn't call it a making up for a lack of contributions on the offensive end, but that's another element of his game that he's getting better at.
I do think the interesting thing is, though, in terms of the defense, and we've talked about this before a lot, where Syracuse a season ago had the money but took a lot of swings and misses in the portal. You didn't get Dakota LeFew, a guy you really wanted. You didn't get a couple of center transfers, the guy from Bucknell who's now at Alabama. You didn't end up with a lot of the guys that you wanted, and so the defense wasn't great. Neither was the offense. Neither was the entire team, right? But J.J. Starling last year, it was kind of keep guys in front of you, because if you chase, if you reach, if you play aggressive defense, Eddie Lampkin's not stopping anything behind you. Eddie Lampkin all season had 16 blocks. William Kyle's about to eclipse that total already. Eddie Lampkin had no help defense behind you, and a lot of the players behind J.J. Starling didn't have that. So I do think maybe it has something to do with the fact that Syracuse has a lot better makeup around J.J. Starling to play defense, where maybe last year, hey, he looked like a liability because the rest of the team was a defensive liability.
Yeah.
Maybe this year it's, okay, well, J.J. Starling is part of this system, and he can be a guy that buys in and plays well.
Yeah, I'll give credit where credit is due. I think one thing, I know we've been ragging on this team a lot, and obviously, rightfully so. After 2 losses, I think any program, even if you're a program that's struggled in recent years, when you have the reputation that Syracuse does, the expectation is to come out here and compete. But that being said, the switching on Syracuse's defense in these 2 games really impressed me.
Yes.
They do such a good job of fighting off of screens, staying attached to the ball carrier, and staying attached to open guys as well. I counted maybe 1 time entire game where there was someone left wide open in transition. They do a great job of picking up their assignments, and that's why I said, maybe it could be better. Maybe you could be playing Houston-level defense, and that clearly is what, that's what Adrian Autry seems to want, though.
It's all
Energy
about
and
the
effort, but you just have to make more shots, I think.
It's all about the offense.
Because here's the thing. I think taking the jump from where Syracuse is at defensively right now to where they maybe want to be is a lot more difficult than just getting better at shooting free throws.
Yeah,
and then, you have a win yesterday and a much closer game today.
Yeah, and Bill Self admitted after the game, head coach of Kansas, that Syracuse played us pretty well. He admitted that. From a defensive perspective, I don't know how much you could have really done different at that end. You just have to be way better offensively. Give credit to Syracuse. They didn't turn the ball over much at all, but you didn't turn it over. You can't make any shots, though. They weren't taking advantage of those extra possessions compared to Kansas.
Well, look at this right here. Kansas, 0 points off turnovers, and they won by 11. Syracuse only had 9, but they turned Kansas over 15 times.
Yeah.
They had
You need
more
to capitalize
turnovers
way
than they
more.
did points off of turnovers. That is, for a team that wants to play in transition, maybe that's a little bit worrying. Although I will say I thought Kansas played very strong defense in this game at times.
Yeah.
I also thought that there were times, though, where Syracuse just made bad decisions with the ball, moving down the floor, and put their guys in some tough spots.
Yeah, I think there's only so much defense can really translate into offense on that end.
Right.
Especially, they talk about level 5 energy, right? Autry has put that out there and said level 5 energy, which, by the way, if you know what level 5 energy is and you want to put a stamp on that, call in 315-443-2011. I would love to know what you think level 5 energy is. But when you play with level 5 energy for so long on the defensive end, it's hard to break out into offense. It's hard to turn that into transition buckets. It's difficult to do these things because you're playing such exhausting physical games, and on back-to-back days, I just don't think Syracuse had what it had in the tank the game before.
Yeah,
also,
I agree.
I do think another part of this is the fact that Syracuse maybe, like the Houston game, maybe Houston was just not ready for Syracuse and didn't expect that. Syracuse was just coming off a 6-point game against Monmouth and was missing Donnie Freeman, the leading scorer, right? But you saw what happened yesterday. Kansas saw what happened yesterday and said, okay, let's play a little more respect to Syracuse.
Yeah.
Maybe that's part of it as well.
Right, and to that point, right in front of us right now, we're watching Houston, not double digits anymore, but they're leading Tennessee by 8, and Tennessee looked really good. I get it. It was against a poor Rutgers team yesterday, but I think this is also a Tennessee team Syracuse is going to face a week from today. Houston's clearly showing up right now. So I think there's some merit to what you're saying, Hudson, where maybe they underestimated Syracuse a little bit. How cool is it that we get to do a double overtime right now while watching an elite matchup?
Yeah,
this is so cool.
Matchup.
This is so cool.
No question. I was just going to say, because Hudson earlier on, you kind of mentioned, oh my God.
Listen to this crowd here. This crowd is hyped up, and one on the offensive end from Tennessee. I wish you could see the game that we're seeing right now.
I almost feel like we should stop the double overtime and just start doing play-by-play for this game. It would be a lot of fun. But
it feels natural.
What I want to say is Kingston Flemings, my goodness, I know he didn't have a great game yesterday, but I've been watching him this whole game. He is so good.
Yeah.
The shots that this guy is taking, catch and shoot, just drilling them. Unless there's a guy in his face, when he catches the ball, he's hitting it.
And Syracuse shut him down yesterday. I think that's just so much of a credit to what this Adrian Autry defense actually is. And there were so many complaints about the man-to-man last year. I remember it. And for those people who wanted to rag on Autry, I never lost sight, I will say, of what Adrian Autry can be, because he's a smart guy. He knows what he's doing, and he did not have the personnel last year.
No question.
Right? And I think even though Syracuse maybe, they're 0-2 right now, and maybe today was not the game you would want against Kansas. I understand that. But I do genuinely think that this performance already, through these first few games of the season for Syracuse, through these first 6 games, I genuinely think that this cements Adrian Autry as your guy. Even if you don't make the tournament, here is what you can be when you have players. And now, he can't burn out and have the year that he had last year, right? But I don't think that will happen. I think Syracuse will be genuinely competitive.
So you think keeping Adrian Autry for this year was the right move?
Yes. No question. 100%. I think that was the right move.
Yeah, I think
it'll pay off down the line.
Okay. You're saying that now. You were saying that at the end of the season last year?
Yes, I was, because you need to give him one more year, because you had to look at the roster that he had last year.
Okay.
They took swings and misses in the portal. I do trust Alex Klein, the general manager, as well. I think he does a really good job
clearly,
building a team.
I know Kings kind of had a struggle of a game today, 3 of 9 shooting, 1 for 5 from 3. He took a lot of ill-advised shots in the second half, I thought, as well, even though he was working on 3-point shots out of the halftime locker room for probably 10 straight minutes. But, the players that Alex Klein has brought in for this program are clearly good players. These are good finds in the transfer portal who have made an impact. They've changed the makeup of the team. And I think, Sam, to what you were saying, basically you get year 1 Jim Boeheim scraps. That's what you're working with. Year 2, like Hudson said, there were issues with recruiting, and they went and addressed that, and those seem to have been fixed. So I think now you have to give him a chance.
Yeah, but you're going to keep stretching it out with that logic.
Where I won't agree with Hudson is, I think if this team doesn't make the tournament this year, or at least, maybe if they get snubbed, then there's a conversation to be had. But
that's what I'm saying. You got to be
if they don't make the tournament or are damn close to being in the tournament, then I don't think Adrian Autry. I think you have to move on. I don't think he's cemented himself for next year.
Based on what we've seen, are they a tournament team?
Yes.
I think they'll be right there.
I think
Bill Self said similar.
Yeah,
that's what stood out to me. He gave a lot of credit to Syracuse. He said, they're going to be a fun team. Like, he gave a lot of credit to them and seemed to, he didn't say it directly, but hint that could be a tournament team. I'm still on the fence.
I do think that there won't be a high seed. No. This won't be a top 7 seed.
That's
I think
a weaker
they make the
Kansas
tournament
team.
Yeah, I think they make the tournament
Peterson
as an 8 through an 11 seed. Right. This is a low down team, and they would probably have to make a little noise in the ACC tournament. But obviously, we're only 6 games in, so you can't really know the construction of this team and the teams they're playing in the ACC. You just went toe to toe with Houston and Kansas, didn't back down, blew the doors off the bad teams that you had to beat. You got one more tough team in Tennessee who's hanging around with Houston right now in front of our eyes. 4-point game. And then you beat up on some other teams getting to ACC play. I think this Syracuse team wins more than 20 games in the regular season. Yeah. They're a bubble team, and I think they make it in on the bubble given the strength of the losses. Last year, or not last year, but 2 years ago when there was a little buzz until the very end of the year, the losses were still bad, and that's what hurt Syracuse. Yeah. If they can have these good losses like they did, 11 points to Kansas, 4 points in overtime to number 3 Houston. That will go a long way. These are quad 1 games.
Right. Yeah. And for me, it brings up an interesting conversation where I think it goes without saying, but after that Tennessee game, you have to St. Joseph's, Hofstra, Mercyhurst, Northeastern, Stonehill. That's got to be a clean sweep.
Has to be.
It has to. If it's not, then this team, this doesn't matter what happens here in Vegas, right?
I'll do you one better. I think you have to win all of those games by 15 at least. Double digits to 15.
St. Joe's isn't good. That's the only team that I could see giving you a run. Hofstra is not terrible, but they're not good. That's another you should win by 15. True. Every other game in that stretch, Every other game in that stretch, I do agree you have to win by 15 or more in that stretch.
Okay, cool.
I also think that whoever Syracuse matches up with tomorrow, that is a must-win. You cannot
agree.
go 0-3 in Vegas. You cannot go 0-3.
I want to pose a question to anyone who's listening in right now. Give us a call, 315-443-2011. If Syracuse wins tomorrow, because we're watching this Tennessee game, and all I'm thinking about is, wow, next Tuesday, a week from tonight, a week from literally right now, Syracuse and Tennessee are going to be battling in the Dome.
We'll
that
be
game will probably
4 minutes away from tip-off right now at this time.
Exactly.
Next week.
We will be encroaching on tip-off in the Dome. The scene in that game, fans, are you going to show up if this team wins tomorrow, if they lose tomorrow? I want to hear your thoughts, because in my eyes, right now, Tennessee's just gone on a big run to make this a 4-point game, but Houston was up 10 points a matter of moments ago.
Yeah.
In theory, through the transitive property, Syracuse should be more than competitive with Tennessee. They should, on their home floor with the fans behind them. I mean, I'll tell you something right now. You know, Syracuse and the Dome, when that place is packed and the fans are into it, there are not many atmospheres in college basketball like it.
And it hasn't been in too long. In a while, I
You
should
think
say.
back to even a Duke game last year where simply because of the quality of the opponent,
And they got
the place
destroyed.
gets packed. But the energy for that game was unbelievable. And I think that if you can bring that type of
For a few
energy
minutes.
for a game against Tennessee, when they come into the Dome, your home court, if you put up a fight in that game, I really think that could change the tone of the season.
I do wonder if Syracuse had won today, then I would say unequivocally. But I do wonder if you win tomorrow and you go home against Tennessee, what's that? Like, that's the biggest game since when? Right? That's the question.
Yeah.
That is the biggest game since when?
Right.
There's going to be
First year Adrian Autry, North Carolina was a pretty big game at home.
Yeah. That would be, okay, here's a good question. Here's a good way to frame it. If Syracuse wins that game, do students rush the court?
Ooh. that is a good question. I think students have become,
yes.
As a student, I think students have become so lackluster in their support of the athletic programs that I don't know if they would.
Which
I think
they would.
Sad.
I think a top 20 win, Tennessee.
Yeah, I
Say
agree.
Tennessee goes on and wins this game, they'll be ranked Monday. I'd say they're probably a top 10 team.
Yeah.
You go out and win that game, I think they're probably going to be a court.
Now, there are some people who would argue that a program like Syracuse should never storm the court against anybody.
And I don't.
Yeah, well, they've already proven that that's not true
Right.
with the North Carolina.
You brought
a
up
few
the
years
North
ago.
Carolina game.
You know
That's
what
kind
I
of
mean?
what made me think of it.
Not would or have they, but should they?
Sure. I mean, I think personally, I don't mind it. I think let the students have fun. You know, that's why
Actually, yeah.
students do it in the first place is
I
to
don't know.
have fun. Does it really matter? I mean, the team gets fined though, right?
Yeah,
Like, what's the fine these days, Sam? Do you know?
I don't know. I don't even know why we're talking about this. They might go 0-3 in Vegas and then lose to Tennessee.
Well, we're talking about hypothetically, will the fans show up? Because in theory,
sure.
you know,
Okay.
SEC teams love hypotheticals. We're doing one right now.
Hey guys, I just wanted to jump in here on this one, on what you were talking
this
about.
is Josh, our engineer, joining
yes.
the conversation.
I just wanted to bring up, I think that it could happen that Syracuse fans could rush the court if they beat Tennessee. I don't think there's a point.
Josh, first question
Yeah.
before we even get to
Yeah,
whether they're going to rush the court. Are they going to show up?
I think
what's
they'll
the vibe?
show up. I absolutely think they'll show up.
If
I think
Syracuse
that they
goes
were going to
0-3, do the fans show up?
Yes, mainly just because of the quality of losses, like Hudson talked about. I mean, you were
All
just
right.
mentioning it, right? I mean, you go to
You're giving
overtime.
Syracuse's fans more credit than I am, I guess, student-wise.
Student-wise, sure, but I mean, I think that's fair. But it's going to be everybody's first game back after a Thanksgiving break. The football team has been abysmal. I think the fans
season's
of
gonna
Syracuse
be over for football.
Exactly, but I think that Syracuse students and just Syracuse fans overall are dying for something to be excited about. And a home matchup against a ranked SEC opponent that is, I mean, currently in a close game against Houston. Syracuse just played Houston tight. Kansas just barely lost by double digits. I mean, that's a situation where I think fans show up. I think students show up. A lot of people will be there. Back to the court storming thing. Let's say they pull off an upset win. I don't know. I don't like thinking about rushing a court until like late January or early February because there's just so much that can go on in college basketball. Like, how much is that win going to mean in the grand scheme of things if Syracuse doesn't perform well in the ACC. If they get swept in Vegas, maybe they pull off a win over Tennessee, and then if things just kind of go back to how they've been in the ACC over the last few years, I don't really like thinking about, this is a program-changing win. They're going to storm the court, and this is it before, the middle of ACC play, I would say. And then Sam, back to your point of, does a program like Syracuse even rush the court? I think it's a good thing to bring up.
I will say just quickly, I find Josh's point interesting, though, I find your point interesting about too early in the season. I feel like the ACC-SEC challenge is a little bit of a unique thing.
Yeah.
I immediately think to last year, Clemson rushed the floor after beating Kentucky on its home court. And that was a little too much, in my opinion, but they did it, and that was in December.
I actually
and that
remember the conversation from the general media talking about if it was too much.
And that
kind of goes back to my point too, right? Because the Syracuse basketball program, albeit in the last few years, has not been up to the standard that Clemson has been, but historically, absolutely one of the blue bloods in college basketball.
Right.
I don't think that that's something that should happen, and if it was being questioned with Clemson against Kentucky, then it will absolutely be questioned if Syracuse does it against Tennessee. But I just don't think – I think that that's lowering the standard of what maybe court rushing can do for a program. I think you're starting to just lower that kind of that benchmark for what a win like that means.
Yeah,
it really means.
I mean, not necessarily what court storming does, but yes, like you said, what court storming means, right? What point is Syracuse at a program, right? If you think back, this was a Final Four team in the last decade, right? It's getting close, but in the last decade.
Right on the edge.
So,
this is the 10th year.
Right on the edge. Yep, this is right on the edge. But it is within the last decade. Where are you as a program if you're thinking about storming the court at that point? I think Syracuse fans who aren't there would find it a little bit more embarrassing. But here's what I will say, right? And I think what some of fans listening need to understand: the students have not had that. The students have not seen an NCAA tournament. The students have seen the last season was the worst season in 60 years, right?
Yeah.
Like the students
14 and 19.
Yeah, 14 and 19. The Orange students have only seen bad basketball. So there's one frame of reference of fans who say, okay, absolutely not. Then there's another frame of reference of students who, most of the students who would storm the court, nearly all of them, I'm going to say something, were not alive in 2003 when the Orange won the national championship.
We weren't. No, I don't think any of us.
None of us were. None of us were alive.
I think I'm the oldest of everyone. I wasn't alive.
Yep. Someone else that wasn't that wants to voice his opinion on this matter. Griffin Bloomstein, host of the Double Overtime yesterday.
Griffin, what you got?
The biggest thing I think a court storming could do is provide some juice into the Syracuse team. Imagine the energy. If Syracuse beats Tennessee, gets some more national media attention, it might provide some more energy, maybe level 6 energy for Syracuse.
But imagine
what does that even look like?
Imagine doing it in such a nonchalant way, though. Yeah, we knocked off number 17 Tennessee at home.
Well, I don't
care.
think there will ever be a reality where that's the case.
I agree.
I feel like the one thing that we got to get back to is you can't undervalue the fact that, and I feel like we got to put a bow on this conversation because court storming, they might lose all 4 games.
I don't think they beat.
Could be a moot point.
But my point is, if they did, this is a potential top 10 team in Tennessee. If they go on and say they give Houston a real run for their money, they're only down 4 at halftime right now. That is a huge win if you do pull off that upset potentially. So, Tennessee, they were number 1 in the net when the first rankings came out last year. This is a great program that Rick Barnes has, and I feel like if you go on and beat them on your home floor, I think you have every right to be very excited no matter what time of the year it is. But I do want to move on, though, and hit on one more thing before we move forward to finish this show up. Of course, you can still get your thoughts heard. 315-443-2011 is the number to call. You can still get your voice on the air for the next 25 minutes or so. We've got Sam Reese, who was at both press conferences. Hudson Ridley, who's been putting in an absolute shift today, hosting us all the way from McClure Remodeling Countdown to Tip-Off to right now and for the next 25 minutes.
4 hours in.
Luke Burgess, myself here alongside you guys as well. The one thing I want to finish up with here is realistically, based on whatever team Syracuse goes on and plays tomorrow, what kind of expectations do you have? Do you expect things to get fixed tomorrow? Is it realistic to go out there and expect things to change overnight?
They'll keep missing free throws tomorrow or Thursday, whenever they play. I don't see that changing. I mean, it's been a constant problem, right? And these are such quick turnarounds in Vegas that they don't have time to practice. And there's no sign that's told me, Hudson, that it's going to change.
I mean, even at halftime of today's game, Syracuse just didn't go to the halftime locker room, basically, and stayed out on the court to practice free throws.
And it barely helped.
If it helped at all, I don't know. They made the first two out of the break, and then they struggled in the second half with splits. They were a little bit better.
Give them credit.
I'm
60%
not. That's
in
awful.
The second half
that's still bad
compared to 50 in the first.
Yeah, it's just not good. I struggle to think that they will improve in any aspect of that. Now, I do think the shooting will probably be better tomorrow. And what I will say is that in all likelihood, the matchup. I wouldn't say in all likelihood. We'll talk about it on the other side, but doing the math right now, the teams that Syracuse could play, and we'll give you those on the other side, so you're not going to want to miss it. I don't think that it will be as tough for Syracuse matchup-wise tomorrow.
No.
But free throws are something where it doesn't matter the matchup. It's the hoop's right in front of you. Hit the shot, right?
Hit the rim if you're William Kyle.
We said that earlier. Hit the rim even. Just give me something. I don't think that will change tomorrow, but I do think this loss may be more motivating than the Houston loss. At least you would hope.
Yeah, we do have more coming up on the double overtime. Still about 20 minutes for you to call in and get your voice heard as we wrap things up here from Tuesday at MGM Grand Garden Arena. Syracuse falls 71-60 to Kansas today without Darren Peterson after a loss yesterday in overtime to Houston. But like Hudson said, we're going to talk through some of the hypotheticals of this tournament, something that you'll see in the much nearer future than a potential court storming against Tennessee. That's all coming up on the other side of a short break here on the double overtime on WAER.
Actor Richard Gere has been famous for decades for roles in movies like American Gigolo and Pretty Woman. He's also a devoted follower of Buddhism, and in a new documentary, he puts someone else in front of the camera, the Dalai Lama.
This camera.
Yes. Here?
Okay.
Richard Gere and how he hopes the film will change lives on the next morning edition from NPR News.
Weekdays from 5 to 9 on 88.3 WAER.
NewsHour from the BBC brings you interviews, news and analysis of the day's top global events.
What's going on?
What happens next?
Let's get more on our top story now.
With reporters across the world covering stories when they happen, wherever they happen.
This place is so remote that it's hard to imagine it as the front line of a major geopolitical row.
NewsHour from the BBC.
Weekdays after morning edition at 9 on WAER, your local NPR station.
Congress has now stripped away critical funding that stations like WAER rely on to stay on the air, provide fact-based news, and serve every corner of our community. Because this work matters, we are determined to keep broadcasting, no matter the challenges ahead, by launching a $175,000 campaign to recoup our losses. If WAER has ever informed you, moved you, or helped you feel connected, this is your moment to act. Join us at WAER.org.
The Ostrom Avenue Podcast, breaking down Syracuse athletics.
The students rush the field. The Orange are bowl eligible and 6-0 for just the third time in the last 87 years.
And interviewing the industry's experts.
We are now joined by a very special guest. It's Emily Leiker of Syracuse.com.
Check out video interviews on YouTube at Ostrom Avenue Podcast and weekly episodes on WAER.org or wherever you get your podcasts.
Actor Richard Gere has been famous for decades for roles in movies like American Gigolo and Pretty Woman. He's also a devoted follower of Buddhism, and in a new documentary, he puts someone else in front of the camera, the Dalai Lama.
This camera.
Yes. Here?
Okay.
Richard Gere and how he hopes the film will change lives on the next morning edition from NPR News.
Weekdays from 5 to 9 on 88.3 WAER.
It's a common tendency. We humanize non-human things.
Wilson, where are you?
It's not just desert island castaways devoid of human contact. We name our cars and believe our pets have complex inner lives. We return to a conversation about why we anthropomorphize. That's next time on 1A.
Weekdays from 10 to noon on 88.3 WAER.
If in your travels through the Arctic Circle, you happen to come across a polar bear, you can do one of two things. You can run, or you can hide. But on the next Snap Judgment, Dennis believes he has a third option. Snap proudly presents Not So Tiny Dancer. Do not miss it.
Sunday morning at 10 on 88.3 FM WAER, your local NPR station from the Newhouse School at Syracuse University.
10 to shoot. Anthony going 1v1 with Trey White. Drives inside, tough shot, no good, gets his own miss, puts it up and in. Kyan Anthony has his first points of the game, and he was fouled. A three-point play opportunity for Kyan.
Wrapping up shop on the double overtime on WAER. We have you for just 20 more minutes up until 7:30 Eastern Time. With Sam Reese and Luke Burgess, I'm Hudson Ridley. Guys, we've broken down this tournament a little bit more. Syracuse fell to Kansas earlier, 71-60, and now it makes the math a little bit interesting. As the live leaderboard suggests, Syracuse is 16th of 18 teams. Again, the Final Four play on Thursday. However, that is just because Syracuse is 0-2 and they're with the rest of the 0-2 teams. There are currently 4 more 0-1 teams that have yet to play.
Yes, and those 4 more 0-1 teams that are yet to play are playing each other, actually. So Oregon plays San Diego State, and UNLV plays Alabama. So that means we are guaranteed to finish with 5 0-2 teams.
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken.
5 0-2 teams.
5 0-2 teams.
Which means that 4 of those would play on Thursday and one of them would play Wednesday.
And UNLV is guaranteed Thursday.
Exactly. So what would have to happen, too, this is also based on point
live
differential.
calculations on the air.
Yes,
you
we are
can't get
doing
this anywhere else.
We're doing live math.
I don't suggest math live on the air, but we're trying it.
This is risky.
Yeah, this is risky.
Okay, so here's what will also have to happen because it's partially based on point differential.
Correct.
Syracuse's point differential right now is -15. The other 2 0-2 teams are both at -25. It's Creighton and Rutgers. They're basically guaranteed. UNLV, they would only play on Wednesday if they finish as one of the top 4 teams in this tournament.
Which is not happening.
Which is a deal that UNLV has to be one of the random teams in this tournament because they're hosting technically and they're at home.
Correct.
So UNLV will also be a team that plays on Thursday. So you
it's
have Creighton,
one more spot.
Yeah, you have Creighton, Rutgers, and UNLV.
On
then
Thursday.
you just have to hope that whoever wins the matchup between San Diego State and Oregon, if San Diego State wins, the margin of victory for San Diego State has to be 4 points or more.
Yeah.
If Oregon wins, the margin of victory doesn't have to be anything. Oregon just has to win. So if you want Syracuse to play on Wednesday to have your Thanksgiving free, you need to root for Oregon tonight. That is what the live math suggests. You need to root for Oregon.
Yes, correct.
That checks out. That checks out there.
And if San Diego State wins, if San Diego State beats Oregon, you want it to be a blowout.
Yes.
So if that game starts out with San Diego State just rolling, right?
Yeah.
You want that to continue actually, and San Diego State to whoop Oregon basically. But if it's a close game, you're really hoping Oregon pulls it out.
If it is a close game and San Diego State wins, then Syracuse would likely play Creighton tomorrow, not tomorrow, on Thursday. And those 2 games are kind of earlier in the day, nothing to really interfere with the late night. Well, actually, they're earlier in the day out here.
11 a.m. and 1:30 p.m. here, which would be 2 p.m. Eastern and 4:30 p.m. Eastern Thanksgiving afternoon on the East Coast.
Yeah, I know that's a lot of numbers for you, so I'm just going to say this in the simplest way possible. If Oregon wins tonight, Syracuse will play tomorrow. If San Diego State wins a close game over Oregon tonight, Syracuse will play Thursday.
Yep.
That is just what it is. UNLV is guaranteed to play on Thursday, as well as Creighton and Rutgers, which both have a worse point differential than Syracuse. So again, if you want Syracuse to play tomorrow, Oregon has to win tonight.
Yeah, and I don't think so. And is there a possible scenario where we could see Syracuse playing Oregon? I believe so,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah.
I think that would be an interesting matchup to see.
Yeah, that could happen, right? Because if San Diego State wins by a big enough margin over Oregon, then yeah, it could be Syracuse and Oregon. That could happen.
Syracuse, Oregon, Creighton, and Rutgers.
Yeah, I don't know where they put UNLV. I don't know where they put UNLV.
No, because UNLV would have to be on that Thursday game. So Syracuse and Oregon cannot play each other because there's only 4 spots. There's only 4 spots on Thursday,
right?
And there are going to be 5 0-2 teams, right? So one of those teams has to miss, and then either San Diego State or Oregon has to win the game. So Oregon and Syracuse cannot play. That is a matchup we know cannot happen. I think a lot of them are.
I would have had Aura.
Other ones are on the
that
table.
Would have had Aura.
I completely agree.
Aura, you would say?
Yes. For a second, who would you want Syracuse to play in this type of situation, and
that was
who
exactly
would you want
why
to avoid?
That was why I brought that up. I think Syracuse-Oregon would be a pretty exciting matchup.
I think so too.
Played a lot better than they were expected to yesterday, and I also think back to when Syracuse and Oregon played. Was it North or South Dakota a couple of years ago?
They played in South Dakota, Sioux Falls, at the Pentagon in Sioux Falls.
I think that matchup I remember being particularly exciting. I think that was one of Judah Mintz's best games of his entire Syracuse career.
That was a quad 2 win for Syracuse.
Yeah,
it was one of the better wins.
I
of the
would
season.
love to see a rematch of that game, although the teams are strikingly different. Oregon was very good last year. And I think it would be exciting to see an Oregon team that's playing well go up against Syracuse team. I kind of see those teams on a similar level in terms of where they're at right now. Maybe the expectations are a little higher, but they're playing okay.
Yeah.
It should also be mentioned that since there's guaranteed to be 5 0-2 teams, the best 0-2 team will play the worst 1-1 team.
Yes.
So we should still be looking at that scenario where if Syracuse is the best 0-2 team, they could play one of those 1-1 teams, which is the likes of Baylor and others, right?
So yes, here are the most likely 1-1 teams, because if Tennessee loses this game, they're currently down to Houston at the half by 4 points in a game that's happening right in front of us. Tennessee loses this game, they would be a 1-1 team, but would not play Syracuse because Syracuse and Tennessee play in just a week, and the tournament does not allow that. They also do not allow Syracuse to play against Notre Dame, a team that they would also face, who is also 1-1. So the teams that leaves left, at least right now, St. John's, who has a point differential that is well above Syracuse. It looks unlikely they would play St. John's.
Yeah, they'll be one of the best 1-1s.
What I think will happen, because I think Alabama, that's 0-1 right now, will blow the doors off of UNLV, and the point differential will go higher. I think it will be Syracuse and Baylor tomorrow if I had to bet. Yeah. And these are two teams that are hyper-aggressive, very physical, play fast-paced, above the rim, can't hit free throws. These are two teams, and Luke, I said this to you earlier today.
You didn't want to see them play Baylor.
I don't want to see them play Baylor because in my mind, Baylor is just Syracuse but better. They have very similar play styles and athletes, but Baylor just has guys, right? Syracuse has a lot of players who are solid and developing into guys who could be NBA players. Baylor already has that. I think it would be a tough matchup for Syracuse, but if the Orange want to prove themselves as a team that can beat big teams, I want Baylor in the draw. I want to see Syracuse-Baylor tomorrow. I hope it happens, and I would be thrilled if it does.
Yeah, I think it would definitely be a more... it would hold a little bit more weight as a matchup if you compare that to an Oregon, say, or a Maryland. Those teams that just the programs aren't quite as respectable. Whereas a Baylor, I think, that's a team that if you keep that game close once again, and obviously I think no matter what, you're really hoping for a win. I think that is as necessary as possible at this point, simply because of how the first two games have panned out. You really want things to work out, but. Baylor is a team that I think maybe, yes, Hudson, I do agree with you, tough team to beat, but is beatable. And a win that would mean a little bit more than if you beat a Maryland or an Oregon.
Yeah, I agree. I think Baylor, Oregon is solid but not great. I think they get a lot of hype trending towards the top 25. That is they played well, but I don't love them.
Yeah.
Baylor I like more than Oregon. Maryland is bad. Maryland is flat out bad.
Yeah.
If you beat
Yeah,
Maryland,
that's-
Maryland's best player got hurt with a awful injury.
Well, he's back. He played yesterday, unexpectedly. The stretchered off player.
Really?
Yeah, he played
I
yesterday.
didn't see that.
Unexpectedly, yeah. So I was watching
What?
that game last night. Yeah, they expected him to be out. They expected him to be out for months, and he didn't end up being out. So that was pretty impressive.
Even then, they only beat UNLV
Yeah, they barely-
by
Oh, yeah, no, it was not-
7
it was
points.
not a good game.
And they had to come back
There was
and beat
no one
UNLV
here.
by 7 points.
Yeah, that game ended at like 11:30 local time, 2:30 a.m. Eastern. I know we enjoyed being there, Hudson, though, for a little bit.
We certainly did.
This
We were
event
there.
is awesome.
I will say, if it's Baylor, that would be all 3 opponents Big 12.
Yeah.
Right? Here at in Vegas. That's
That
kind
is
of cool.
true.
Houston,
And then
Kansas, Baylor.
And you got Tennessee, SEC next week. Like I like that idea before you go back to these just awful teams on the schedule.
Yeah, I
Stonehill, come on.
I think this is definitely a fun stretch for Syracuse
sure.
right now. Wrapping up shop here on the double overtime. We talked a while ago about Syracuse and Kansas. Kansas winning 71-60. That has since sloped off into a million different places, but we're having fun here at the double overtime watching in-person basketball.
We did great math, too.
Tennessee and
I'm proud
Houston.
of
I was
us.
impressed.
Look,
I sat back and watched.
I've said this on this program before. I have not received good grades in math. That was some of the
impressive.
best math I have done in my entire life, and I'm pretty proud of it.
Yep.
Before we wrap up shop here, just a couple of things to hit on. And, guys, I think it's time for our final words. One last thing to say. My final word from today. At what point does energy not become enough? Right? You can hit minimum. What amount of shots can you hit minimum to offset the energy issue? And I think for Syracuse, right, when you don't have natural shooters, Nate Kings is more of a natural shooter, but he struggled this year. You don't have Donnie Freeman out there for injury, and you're just relying on your defense to carry your offense. Well, the defense has played great against 2 receiving votes, top 25 teams. Like, that is what you want to see. But then, if it doesn't translate into any offense, you turn Kansas over 15 times, and you can't even equate that with your points off of turnovers. At what point does it just not become enough to play good defense? I do think this is a positive step from last season to this season where, God, you were so bad last year, and this year, hey, the defense is at least clearly one of the top defenses in the country. That used to be a fluke when they were playing Monmouth and Drexel and those teams. We just saw an unbelievable highlight in front of our eyes.
Oh.
But when you're playing Monmouth and Drexel and those teams, maybe it looks fake. I think now we can confirm the defense is real. Just at what point is energy not enough?
Yeah, Hudson, I think it's a great point. And mine somewhat relates to that. You have to hit your shots. It is that simple. Syracuse today has its worst shooting day in almost 3 years. And when you go out there, it doesn't matter how good your defense is. If you shoot 32% from the field, you're not going to beat a lot of those teams that, Sam, you were laughing at a second ago, a Stonehill or a Hofstra. You have to hit shots, especially when they're open shots. And, to be quite honest with you, I thought Syracuse did enough today to create open looks for some of its scorers. Simply did not capitalize in some pivotal moments, and that it has become really the death of this team in this second game. And you could say at times in that first game as well, obviously the free throws, but there were moments in that second half where Syracuse let things slip away a little bit against a very good Houston team. The Orange have to do better.
Right, and as I wrap up shop as well here, this has been a fun time with you guys.
Oh, absolutely.
Time's flying by, I'll tell you. It's almost time for the show to end already. But for me, we came into this week expecting Syracuse to be 0-2, right?
Yeah.
So that's where we're at. Obviously more competitive than maybe we expected against Houston and Kansas. But the fact of the matter is, you're still 0-2 going into that third game. I entered the season thinking this is not a March Madness team. I will still stand by that for now. But tomorrow decides it for me. And I don't care that we're early in the season. If Syracuse wins tomorrow, I don't care the opponent, I'm going to say, okay, I think they could be a March Madness team. If they lose tomorrow and go 0-3 in Vegas, I am standing by what I thought at the beginning of the season. that they might be a bubble team, but they're not going to get in. The fact of the matter is, it's early in the season, but I like making these type of claims early. I don't want to wait around. So that's what I'm going to say.
I like that.
Okay.
I think that's great. Before we wrap up shop, I want to pose one more thing to you guys, and I don't think it's anything you're going to want to talk about.
Yeah.
Syracuse football plays its final game on Saturday.
Oh, boy.
Joe Filardi is getting one more start. Do the Orange have any chance? Sam, I know you'll love to talk about this. This is your hometown Boston College
I
Eagles.
don't care. It
coming into the
actually makes me more disgusted.
Do you think Syracuse has any chance to pull out a fourth win this season before we wrap things
No,
up?
absolutely not.
They're losing it.
No.
I agree.
Boston College has beaten one team this year.
And it's fake.
They beat Fordham to begin the year.
I got to say, now stall for me while I find this, but I believe Boston College is starting an Alabama transfer quarterback.
Yes, they are. He's been back and forth, and he's been okay. I think that guy is definitely good enough to beat the brakes off of Syracuse in what has become an awful team throughout the back stretch of the year. I'll say this. The Syracuse Notre Dame game the other day, 70-7. I don't care if your starting quarterback got hurt to begin the season. I don't care how bad things have gotten. If you lose that bad, it is pure mismanagement. It is absolute coaching malpractice. I will completely stand on that. It is unacceptable to lose by that much. It is the most embarrassing loss in Syracuse football history.
70-7.
70-7.
Media,
flat out.
And it should have been 70-0.
National media ragging on Syracuse constantly over the last few days.
From every corner. And you know what I will say? I am so absolutely over the moon glad that Syracuse men's basketball doesn't suck like last year, because it gives just a little bit of hope to see this and go, okay, well, we don't have to deal with what we dealt with last year, because if Syracuse men's basketball was bad during this tournament and football just put the performance on that they did,
it would be miserable.
the athletic department would crumble like my gambling odds last night.
Yeah.
Pretty
House of
bad.
cards.
Pretty bad stuff. A complete house of cards. All right. That's really going to do it for us here on the double overtime as we approach 7:30. Guys, any last thing to add here?
I think Syracuse goes on and wins this third and final game. I
agree.
really do. I think, yes, there's a negative energy around the game today with how it went down. They didn't shoot the ball well, but I overall think this tournament has been a positive for this team. I do agree with Adrian Autry. I do think they're learning, and I think they come out with a 7-point win.
I thought today was the game you had to win, though, right? Like after
I don't disagree,
yesterday,
but
everyone was saying you should.
I didn't say that you didn't need to win today. I said I think they will win the third game.
I'm skeptical about tomorrow. I'm going to enjoy Tennessee, Houston. That's my final thought. We're currently watching two teams that are just playing at such a high level.
Yeah,
I'm enjoying. These are two teams that could easily go to the Final Four, and Syracuse plays Tennessee a week from today. Tune in, WAER.
Certainly does. A lot of scouting going on right now. Hey, that's going to do it for us in Las Vegas. Wish us well tonight in the Sin City. Syracuse falling to Kansas 71-60 in Game 2 of the Players Era Festival. 0-4-2 for the Orange. A couple thank yous to hand out. Josh Richardson, our man on the board, our engineer. You heard him a little bit earlier, as well as our producer, Ben Chadwick. Griffin Bloomstein for hopping on the air and sticking around doing radio replay from earlier on, and our entire WAER Sports Talk desk that made this whole thing happen. Very grateful to them as well. All right, that's going to do it for us from Vegas. We'll hopefully talk to you tomorrow right here on the original home of the Orange,